Welcome to the Game of Life podcast, where we bring you inspiring softball stories, insightful tips from coaches and players, and explore how the game transcends its boundaries to become a metaphor for life. Whether you're a sports enthusiast, a casual fan, or someone just looking for inspiration, you're in for a treat. We'll unravel the tales that go beyond the scoreboard. Discover how perseverance and hard work on the field translates into resilience in your daily challenges. Learn about teamwork, leadership, and the unwavering spirit that fuels success, not just in sports, but in the game of life. Alli, how you doing tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good. Glad we could get another episode going. You were in Oklahoma watching softball a week ago. This weekend we were at a wedding. Next weekend you're out of town again, and it's a busy time of year for all of us, but we wanted to talk about our upcoming camp.
Yes, I'm excited. I'm excited to talk softball. And speaking of softball, it was very fun to go watch some softball. I went to the Oklahoma Sooners Stadium. Binghamton was in that regional, so that was a really cool softball experience. They love their softball down there, and I'm excited to chat about our upcoming camp tonight.
Yeah, so I've got a couple things to go over, but when we decided to do a Game of Life softball camp, uh, what do you think the main reason behind it is? What are we looking for? Like zoom way out, this is my imitation of a drone. Uh, Zoom way out, like for a drone's perspective, and then we'll get into 5 things we think individuals will get out of our camp.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you and I have been doing this podcast for a little while. We have a very long career of softball and coaching. Now both of us are coaching. And I think, one thing we just see a lot with players is little bit of a lack of perspective. And that probably, was myself included when I was younger. You go through these spurts of, I need to focus on my stats, or I'm so worried about where I'm going to get recruited, XYZ, you name it. And I think what this camp will be for people is a reminder that softball is a vehicle, not a destination, right? So don't lose perspective during your playing days on the person and the skill set it's transforming you into. So it's going to be things like, what should I be focusing on when I'm trying to get recruited? How do I build my finances while I'm in high school? How do I set myself up for success? What communication skills should I be focused on? How do I handle adversity, right? So all those little things that everyone says are so important, but don't get as much time or detail as some of the more technical things in softball. Now, that being said, there is going to be an element of this that's technical skills, fun, upbeat, energetic, softball focused things that are gonna challenge you and put you in situations of adversity so that we can work through them and learn how to come out stronger on the other side. So that's kind of my initial is softball is the vehicle, not the destination. It's keeping perspective while you're playing and then going above and beyond and some of those softball adjacent topics, I'll call them, that don't get talked about as much.
Yeah, before we get going, stats. Everybody gets so excited about stats, game changer, whatever. And then when you go to college softball, if you look at everybody's batting averages, how could someone have a low batting average if they all batted 800 back in travel? And that's a comparison piece that is the thief of joy, in my opinion. Uh, and that's why we want to focus on these 5 things, because 2 things are going to happen. You're going to find your fit in college if indeed you do want to play college softball, but at the same time, you're going to have these ingredients to live your best life afterwards. And I think that's the whole point.
Yeah, agreed. And one thing, this can be a little precursor to some of the things we'll talk about during the camp, but I think it surprises people, and I'm telling the truth when I say this. I could not tell you one of my batting averages in high school. Like, I truly just don't know, and I didn't know. It was never something that was talked about, and I think saying that now to high schoolers or middle schoolers or their parents is kind of a wide-eyed reaction, but
Yeah.
I wanted to win a sectional title. It was similar in college, right? Like, there's a lot more data now on social media, which I think is probably a little bit of the culprit too, but it's just things like that of, okay, well, if I didn't focus on my stats, what did you focus on, right? Or some of you out there might not believe me when I say that, but I'm telling the truth. So that's just some of the topics that we're gonna be covering during the camp, and when we talk about perspective, it's things like that. But
Yeah. No, I mean, 100%. And so camp, of course, it's a softball camp. So one of the things we're going to focus on, of course, when we have players is fundamentals, consistency, and habits. And tell me why those three things are important. I mean, both in a softball world and in life.
Yeah, so I think the first thing out of the top of my head from a softball perspective is there are so many girls that will tell you they practice 5 times a week, right? Or I'm working on this with my hitting coach, and I'm working on this with my agility coach, and I'm working, XYZ, blah, blah, blah. But there's so many girls where if they're doing a drill and you go up to them and they're like, "Hey, what's the purpose of this? What are you getting better at? What's your goal today? What do you want to get better at by the time you walk out of here today?" It's a lot of, "I don't know, my coach told me to do it," or well, my coach told me this was going to make me better. It's not, "Hey, I'm walking into the cages today. I'm doing these 4 drills because I know that this one's going to help me with rolling over. This one's going to help me with loading into my back half or coiling, and this one's going to help me with turning behind the ball because of XYZ." Like, that's the way that we should be talking when it comes to practice and approaching practice. Similar to our life right now. When I wake up and it's a Saturday, I'm not just like, I don't know what I'm gonna do today. I'll just see where the wind blows. No, like I have goals in mind and I have things that I'm gonna do to get me there. Or when I go to work every day, I have a list of, okay, I need to get this done, right? You can name it to any facet of your life. But I think right now in sports in general, there's just that lack of, almost call it like intentionality, maybe with the things that we're doing. So I know some people say quality over quantity, but truly applying that to your softball skill as well.
Yeah, no, I like that. And habits are the most important thing, and knowledge of why you're achieving those habits. So let's go to the next one. Why is it important to find mentors and explore careers and explore things you're curious about?
That could be a whole podcast episode by itself, but, um, I think, and then I'll turn it back to you, but I think when you think about mentors, I have had so many people has a have a positive impact on my softball career, my work career, my just life in general, and it's because I've wanted to continuously learn at every stage of my life. So, something I tell my players all the time, and the ones I give lessons to, like if someone asks them, "Who's your hitting coach?" they'd say, "Coach Alli." But if they come to me and say, "Someone else gave me this piece of feedback," I'll tell them, I'm like, "Yeah, that's good advice. You should take that," or "You should listen to other people." I think, and I'm gonna make a bold statement, I think a lot of coaches today don't do that. I think that they're very territorial over their players, and it's my way or the highway, and I think that is not the best approach. So, I think when it comes to sports and in life, how do you keep an open mind to have multiple teachers? And there's people in my life today, even I look around my friends, I'm like, I wanna take her work ethic, I wanna take her compassion, I wanna take her X, Y, like, you have different people in your life who are good at different things, and we all learn from each other. So that's kinda my take on it, and same with your teammates, right? Like, "Wow, she's a great teammate, her attitude's awesome, I wanna hit like her, I wanna be a leader like that." So I think when we pigeonhole ourselves to 1 or 2 people, it limits us in what we're able to learn. But what are your thoughts on that, being a teacher and a coach and a collegiate
Well,
athlete as well?
yeah, I mean, what I always emphasize is your network is your net worth. So you should have multiple people you're learning from. You should have multiple people you're being curious with and exploring future opportunities with. No one person has all the answers. And if any one teacher, coach, or mentor has all the answers, I would try extra hard to find new people.
Mhm.
And that's what we want to introduce at the camps too. Like it's not said travel coach's way. It's not just mom or dad's way. It's not just the next person you meet's way. It's use take a little bit out of everybody you meet in life, which can be daily, and stay
Yeah.
curious.
And also being able to not question, but have dialogue with your mentors as well. Just because someone tells you something, if you don't understand it, tell them you don't understand it. Like, that's part of what we'll be talking about too is if I'm a hitter, right? And this happened to me in college. My coach would be like, "I need you to work on this." And she'd use some terminology that I wasn't sure what she was talking about. And if I just sat there and said, "Okay," and then went back to the drill and didn't apply it, she'd think I wasn't listening to her. So instead, when she'd say things, I'd be like, "I don't understand what you're saying. Can you tell me that a different way or can you show me again?" And the same thing goes for life. If someone tells you to do something and you don't know what they're talking about, it's not going to help them or help you if you pretend to know. So I think being able to question respectfully and then have dialogue is an important piece of that as well.
Awesome, and more on that part later, but,
Mhm.
you know, the next thing that we're gonna talk about at our camps that I don't think's really talked about anywhere is understanding how money works and then liabilities versus assets. If your
I'm gonna
parent
let you take that one. Yeah, you take that one.
yeah, if your parents are spending all this money on coaches and lessons and camps and travel, well, hopefully that doesn't become a liability to them. Hopefully it's an asset because you're taking all that and you're using it to become something better than you are now. And, we're going to discuss that not only in the travel world and softball world, but how you can do that with everything in life, like whether it's buying a car, whether it's you learn to invest, or should you go to college and should you take on debt and should you buy a house? And, it's going to be quick, but it's going to be an introduction where at least it gets people's uh, minds thinking, because what's the point of doing all this if it's not for growth?
Mhm. And I think personal finances are one of those things you talk to a lot of people and they look back and it starts with, I wish or I should have, right? And it's not necessarily something that's talked about enough with, the high school demographic. So I think that's going to be
Right.
a really unique piece at our camp too that will be pretty value add for all the attendees.
I'm listening to a book now where the guy says everybody 80% or 90% of everybody lives on someday I'll. So someday someday island,
Yeah.
someday I'll do this, someday I'll do that. And we want people to start thinking about it now, not because your journey is linear, not because we have all the right answers, but there's so much you can do at any age to get you prepped for your best life. So another big one that we're going to talk about is your identity on and off the field, how you cope, how you deal with adversity, how you deal with hard times. I mean, softball is a game of failure. So we want to discuss methods and ways to deal with that.
Mhm. And I think through all of this, are you proud of the person that you're becoming, right? Take away your stats or your success on the field. Are you proud of the person that you're looking at every day? And I think that's a big one that can get lost sometimes too is how do we take all this adversity and transform it into a better version of ourselves. And I think, we talk about this all the time and we play a sport of failure. That phrase gets thrown around all the time in the softball world, but we're going to talk about what does that actually mean and how do you actually respond to it? Because I think it's one thing to say, yeah, I know I'm going to fail a lot and then we don't control our reactions at all and then we turn into not so good teammates and then we let it spiral. But then our performance gets better and we're the best teammate and everything's good and sunshine and rainbows. So I think just unpacking that a little bit of, okay, like, yes, it's a game of failure, but what does that actually mean tangibly? And how can you take that to help transform yourself?
Everybody knows the person and teammate that's so positive when things are going well and then shuts down into a shell when things are going bad. Well, that happens in the real world. That's going to be your coworkers, your boss, or your employees, and you have to learn how to cope with that. And so that'll be fun introducing
And
that.
I also think too, a lot of times we get in this mindset of, "Oh, well, after this, it'll get better." Or after high school, I don't really like my coach, college will be better. After college, this is tough. Like, I'm ready to be done. I'm ready to graduate. This will be better. After I switch this job, I just gotta get no. Like, there's adversity in any season that you're in. So I think the true power comes in learning how to deal with it, not move on to the next thing.
Well, that brings us to the last big item that we're going to discuss, which I think everything we've talked about before then can get wrapped into this one, and it's communication. I'm talking eye contact, emails, introducing yourself, elevator speeches, being comfortable in uncomfortable situations, asking questions, and advocating for yourself. I know I just threw a lot of stuff. It was like a verbal throw up right at you,
Yeah.
but I think this one is the most overlooked piece when you're dealing with young athletes, young people trying to plan their best life. Communication is everything.
And I think so in the beginning, back to when you said take a zoom out perspective of this, I think by the time you are in, I might lowball it here, but I'm gonna say 7th or 8th grade, back to when I think about it, you should be able to sit down with a stranger and hold a 15-minute conversation with them.
Yes.
And I think if that scares you right now, I think this camp is gonna be a good start for you because I think being able to do that is a tool in life that is so underrated. Like, if you can't come up with questions, talk about yourself in a way that is, engaging to the other person, I think that's something that is gonna be really important as shaping you in the future as well.
Yeah, and in whatever age, if your parents order for you at restaurants, or they email the coach, or they're emailing the teacher at school, there's a pattern there that's not getting resolved.
Mhm.
And it just you end up becoming the victim over time instead of actually taking responsibility for what you're trying to accomplish. And we're gonna discuss that, and the exciting part is we're gonna come up with a little bit of an accountability planner for everybody afterwards. But these are things you have to work on daily. It's not you come to a camp and you feel good about yourself and you leave. You have to work on this stuff. You and I still work on this stuff.
Yep, every day. And hopefully the campers will teach us something too while we're while we're doing it. But I mean, I think if you're thinking, is this camp right for me or my daughter? I think it's if we've mentioned any of this stuff and you think about, wow, they could be getting better at that, or we just need a little bit of perspective. Or on the other hand, if you're thinking, no, we're good, everything's perfect, then this could also probably be a good place to be challenged a little bit. So I think we're really excited. We're gonna also add in an element of for those that wanna play in college or you're on the fence of playing in college, what does that decision look like? Or how do you start outreach to coaches? What is the right way to do it? Speaking from our experience. So there's gonna be an element of that as well.
Yeah, and there's no one journey. There's our journey, there's someone else's journey. But again, if you don't want to take in information from everybody that's trying to help you, then I think you're missing out on potential future great opportunities.
And I think too, like you just mentioned, the stuff we talk about isn't, okay, I'm going to look at my journey in isolation and everything I base the camp on is going to be that. We know a lot of people in the softball community. I think if we wrote down, schools of every player I played with or know that they went to, it would be across D1, D2, D3, JUCO. Some of them coach at D1, D2, D3s now. So it's a combination of a lot of different knowledge sources in the softball community coming together into what's gonna fuel this, along with, my personal journey, my dad's personal journey, because they were not linear by whatever means, and they're still not linear. So I think, we have some good things to share.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. We'll post it soon. We're in the final stages, but we're super excited to offer this and see where it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And as soon as that stuff comes out, we'll be posting about it where you can sign up. And if there's any questions, definitely feel free to reach out. But we're really looking forward to it. It's kind of a next step for the game of life.
Awesome. Thank you, Allie. And again, our website, gameoflife247.com. We'll talk soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye.